The simulation idea has been around way before all of us started thinking about computers. The concept of people standing at the pearly gates and looking at their lives, right? What is that if not a debrief, if you will, after you get out of a simulation?
Hey, Miller! Look what I found!
Realistic, isn't it, Mr. Miller?
René Descartes tried to build an epistemology from a foundation of skepticism and radical doubt.
I will suppose that some malicious demon has employed his energies to deceive me. I shall think that the sky, the air, the earth, and all external things are merely the delusions which he has devised to ensnare my judgment. I shall consider myself as not having hands or flesh or senses, but is falsely believing that I have all these things.
A slightly more modern version of the same idea is the brain in a vat, where again you try to challenge the philosopher to prove that the external world exists and that he or she is not a brain in a vat in some mad scientist laboratory being kind of fed inputs that mimic what the external world would have done. So it didn't really matter how realistic these thought experiments were. They were just logical possibilities, and the challenge was how can you disprove them?
1,000 years before Descartes' evil demon, a similar idea was put forth in ancient Greece by Plato.
He describes, like, imagine this situation. There are figures, they're chained inside of a cave. From birth, they have no experience of what's outside of it. They're looking at a wall, and on the wall, they kind of see this projection.
Do you see men passing along the wall, carrying all sorts of articles which they hold projected above the wall? Statues of men and animals made of wood and stone and various materials? Of the objects which are being carried in like manner, they would only see the shadows.
Emily Pottist wrote about this parable's relevance to both simulation theory and other aspects of digital communications and miscommunications.
It's a very cinematic metaphor, and I just love that, how, you know, that sort of imagination of how film affects us. And just like there's like that lossiness between what is really happening and what perception shows us, there's sort of lossiness between what media shows us and what the real world outside of that media representation is. So now it's not just what their senses decide to show them, it's what the media decides to show them.
And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Let's go back to Hindu myths. You find these incredible myths of, like, you know, the king's going along and stops for a well and he drinks, and then he goes and he has a whole other existence, a whole other life, and then pop, he comes back in, and they'll even go have worlds within worlds within worlds. So you have this structure of worlds within worlds, and once you have that, it undermines the primary world.